Welcome back to Technique WOD. This is video 2 out of a 3-part series on training specifically for core stability. If you watch video 1, I explained stability as being anti-movement. You're training not to move. So in video 1, we went through training for anti-extension, keeping yourself from being pulled into this extended lumbar position by contracting your abs and your glutes to pull yourself back to a neutral pelvis. So today we're going to talk about training for anti-lateral flexion, which again, if we're talking about our core and our low back being pulled into lateral flexion, we're contracting these muscles to pull ourselves back into a neutral spine. So an example of that training wise is, on the most basic level, is just doing something like a side bridge, or if you want to scale it down a little bit more, you can do a bent knee side bridge. You see this a lot in more global gym type situations and in physical therapy environments. Today, what I really want to focus on though is training to be very strong in single leg stance. So if I'm on one foot, you would think that this side would fall down like this because I'm only on one leg. Well, I have a host of muscles that contract to keep my pelvis level, and it keeps my spine on a level surface. So when I'm on single leg, I have what's called my lateral subsystem, which is my abductors, which is basically my groin. These side hip muscles here, my abductors, and then my QL, my quadratus lumborum muscle, and my obliques on this side contract to keep my pelvis nice and flat where I don't hip hike and fall down. If you ever watch somebody who has a very weak lateral subsystem, and very specifically a very weak glute medius, the side hip muscle, every time they take a step, when this leg comes off the ground, their hip falls down like this, and then their hip falls down like that, and that's called a Trendelenburg gait. So if you have that type of dysfunction, you tend to get low back and knee problems and a whole host of other issues. So to train that, I like one-arm farmer's walks, two-arm farmer's walks, and yoke walks. We're basically doing a series of loaded carries. Most CrossFit programs, if you're just metcutting all the time, don't necessarily, depending on who your coach is, have those type of movements in the WOD on a weekly or even a monthly basis. So if you're a person that wants to have more core stability and you want to train your abs in a more functional manner, then those type of movements are going to be a good choice for you to do as assistance work. So again, farmer's walk, all you're doing is walking with a load in your hand, okay? And then again is pulling me this way, and I'm resisting that motion by contracting all the muscles on my side. If you've ever done any heavy one-arm farmer's walks, you know the next day the opposite side is pretty smoked. And you can do those very heavy. If you have farmer's handles, which is very heavy kettlebells, you can do those if you're a decently strong person with at least up to your entire body weight in your hand. So if I'm a 200-pound person, I can put 200 pounds in one hand and walk around, and you get a decent load on your side core muscles as a result, and it makes you very strong. The other thing you can do is just a two-arm farmer's, same deal. I'm just getting a very heavy load in single leg stance. And then finally, if you want to go extra heavy, if you have a yoke, that's a great option as well. You can pretty much make the yoke as heavy as you want. Load up a bunch of 45s and just pick it up just off the ground, and then you're doing very slow, controlled walks with the yoke. So a couple of great options to train anti-lateral flexion. We're going to come back on video number 3. We're going to talk about anti-rotation.